This is the one episode we do every year that proves something. You can say you don't care about football. You can say you didn't watch. But Monday morning, everybody has opinions. The game, the commercials, the halftime show, and this year, maybe more than ever, the cultural ripple effects. We aren't here to argue. We're here to unpack, because the Super Bowl isn't just about football. It's a mirror of what entertains us, of what offends us, of what we celebrate, and what divides us. So pull up a chair and let's talk about it.
Welcome to the Pulpit and Porch. I'm Tony Marr, and with me as always is my friend Robert Kell.
Hey everybody, we are so glad you're here. The Pulpit and Porch is where we kick back, put up our feet, and have real conversations about life, faith, growth, and maybe even a little sports and pop culture.
If you're looking for a perfectly polished sermon, you're probably in the wrong place.
Yeah, around here, it's more about those honest, heart-to-heart conversations, like the one you'd have on a front porch with good friends. Sometimes we stay on track, sometimes we take the scenic route.
And honestly, that's half the fun, isn't it? We dig into the highs, the lows, and all the in-betweens of living out your faith in real life. Along the way, we may pull up a few extra chairs and invite some friends onto the porch to share stories and ideas that just may change the way that you see things.
So whether you're chasing your purpose, building your faith, or just trying to live a little more fully, pull up a chair, grab some sweet tea, and join us. This is the Pulpit and Porch. We got a seat waiting for you.
Robert Kell, how are you, man?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I am doing great. So this has become kind of an annual tradition for us. I think this is our third year doing this episode, this Super Bowl recap episode. And we touched a little bit last week on the Super Bowl, me being a Seahawks fan, and the fact that my team won the big game, 29-13 over the New England Patriots. And we'll touch a little bit on that, but we're not going to talk a lot about actual football.
No, we've kind of already talked about that in the last episode. So
I mean, I'm happy to talk about it as much as you want.
I don't know if there's really anything else to say.
Do you know what else is really exciting that we do need to touch on? And this is one of those episodes that we can timestamp because we're talking about the Super Bowl and it just happened. But here's a real timestamp for you. Do you know what happened yesterday?
It's like 80 degrees here or something.
Oh, it was beautiful. But do you know what else happened?
I do not.
Mainly in Florida and in Arizona.
No.
Pitchers and catchers reported for spring training.
I did not know. I knew it was coming up, but I am so much more invested in the Olympics. I know I was watching the curling yesterday.
I love the Olympics.
It's so much fun.
Man, I love the Olympics.
Mel and I, we're just watching a lot more Olympics right now. And it's inspired us. We actually had the Wii out with a couple of the boys last night, and we're not always playing Olympic sports, but we have some different, sportsy things that we're doing. Some of them Olympic-y, some of them not so much.
2 weeks of joy.
It's awesome, and we get we get winter, summer, and we get the Soccer World Cup this year. All within about 5 months of each other.
Well, we don't get Summer Olympics within 5 months of each other.
Well, they're coming up. Yeah, right. Sorry, within about a year. Sorry.
Doing the stagger was the greatest thing that
going every 2 years.
Yeah, that the International Olympic Committee, the IOC, ever did. They did that, probably 15, 20 years ago.
It's been a while.
Staggering it. Love that. What's your preference, Summer or Winter Olympics?
I probably there's a lot of things that I'm super impressed by with people in both of them, but I have things I like in both of them. I probably am more of a summer guy.
Are you?
Yeah.
I think I'm the same, but I really enjoy the Winter Olympics. There are some events in the Winter Olympics that I really, really love. I had the opportunity, and we're not doing an episode on the Olympics. Maybe we should do an episode on the Olympics. But I had an opportunity when I'd have to look at the date and see exactly when the Salt Lake City Winter Olympics were. But my family, we did a summer vacation to Park City, Utah, which is basically a suburb of Salt Lake City. It's right up the mountain from Salt Lake City. The summer before the Winter Olympics. Like 6 months before the Winter Olympics. And it was phenomenal. They had the U.S. ski team was there practicing, and you could go to where the ski jump team was practicing, and they had the actual Olympic ski jump slope that went into a swimming pool. and they had this big terrace outside, and you could get food and snacks. And we just sat for hours and watched the ski jump team fly down the mountain, do their quadruple backflips and somersaults and corkscrews into a swimming pool as they were practicing and getting ready for the Olympics. They also had the actual Olympic bobsled luge skeleton run, and you could go up, you could ride a bus up and then do a bobsled ride down the actual Olympic bobsled run. And my dad, my brother, and I did that. I'm sure that it cost an arm and a leg, but I wasn't paying for it. I was in high school, so I didn't really care at the time. But I can actually say that I mean, technically I'm an Olympic bobsledder because I have done a bobsled down an official Olympic bobsled course.
And I've taken photos on an official NFL field. Is that maybe an NFL player?
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe
No, that is pretty cool though. I love bobsledding, and I think those are the things. Like I love curling, I love bobsledding.
Is skeleton the most ridiculous sport that you've ever seen? Like, I mean, there has to be something not right with you mentally if you do skeleton, right?
I mean, it's crazy, crazy.
Head first on your belly, going 192 miles an hour down the ice.
I couldn't do it, but I love watching it, and so
it's so much fun to watch.
I really do love a lot of those sports. I may be changing my mind sitting here thinking about it. Like I love bobsledding. I watched Cool Runnings. I watched Cool Runnings a few months ago.
Feel the rhythm, feel the rhyme. Come on, y'all, it's bobsled time. Cool Runnings.
I watched that a few months ago. Just hadn't seen it in a long while, and so yeah, it's fun. And
we're gonna I actually have this thought as I was putting together our show notes for today, that we're going to talk a lot about culture, and we're going to talk a lot about, I guess, what's acceptable and what's not acceptable, and all of that. And I think one of the big things within line of that I think is so amazing in watching the Olympics, and I think it was a brilliant move by NBC in their coverage of the Olympics, but Snoop Dogg has become America's sweetheart.
I'm not sure how we got there.
And to be honest, he's great at it. I think he's really good in what he does. He's funny, he's entertaining, and he cares. He deeply, deeply cares. And he invests, he researches into these athletes. He gets to know their story. He shows up at their events. He spends time with them. I think he's way better than some of the other commentators that they've put in years past for other sporting events. But how did we get to this place where DOGG is now like the spokesperson for the United States of America?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like you're talking, is he actually doing live correspondence for the Olympics again?
Oh yeah, have you not seen him?
I haven't. Like
he's doing it all over. He did it for the Summer Olympics and was a huge hit, and so they signed him up. He's like their main guy now, doing these little pieces. I don't know what they call it in the biz.
Yeah, I don't either. I haven't seen. So funny, I haven't seen him because I've watched a lot of Olympics,
and he was at the opening ceremonies. He did a lot of opening ceremonies.
We watched a good part of the opening ceremony too. Yeah, I don't know why I haven't seen him, but yeah, it's weird. It's weird that he.
Yeah, I've seen him like literally every single.
You sure you're not watching
session.
a rerun of last Olympics?
100% positive.
Excuse me. No, that's funny. But yeah, it's weird. I don't know. Like it's always interesting to me what culture will criticize and what it will forgive, what it will hate forever, and what is redeemable somehow. And I think at the end of the day, one of the pieces that's interesting about Snoop Dogg in particular is he. Like, you can tell me I don't watch a lot of, like, I see him on commercials every day. So he's always in commercials and he's always in these different ads and things that are going on. But I don't know that I really see anything about Snoop Dogg that he's out there with a big political affiliation, or that he's really banging like societal drums around social and cultural conversations and topics at a really, really, really high level, that he's a prominent voice, like so many are. And so maybe that's part of it. And I could be wrong. We may get 1,000 people that like write in and just go, Robert's an idiot. And you will just go, I know, I'm sorry. We'll delete the episode. But I think that like it's just really interesting to me. And I think that's part of this conversation is what is redeemable and forgivable inside of culture. And so you've got a guy that was leading the way with a lot of, substance abuse. We'll say it that way. His music was
Are you referencing gin and juice?
I'm referencing a whole lot of things that are there. But I mean, he definitely.
But I mean, it is, Robert. It is like this, and then it's like that, and then it's like this, and
But I think,
and then it's like that, and it's like this, and it's like that, and
I think it's one of those things that it's an interesting thing that what he did has like a lot of the things he was doing has somewhat become legal in the world.
True.
So go back to your USC boy Reggie Bush that won a Heisman Trophy that was ripped away from him, which I think they gave it back. Yeah. Because what he got at least accused of doing, I don't know that he ever signed off that he did it. I think he always kind of claimed some level of like, oh man, I wasn't involved in that. But it became legal. So now we all look at Reggie Bush differently. At least a younger generation does. Older people probably still go, he was cheating when it was illegal, so he should have gotten busted. This should have happened, blah, blah, blah. But I think sometimes when culture changes and something that you did was wrong and now it's okay, as long as it's not like deplorable in a way of just you're kind of a sleazy human being, like I think it can become something that's really redeemable in that. And so, I mean, like I kind of went a little bit deeper on a thing about a fun conversation about Snoop Dogg, but I think that some of that is true. I think there's this stuff of what he was doing.
Yeah, I think it's a slippery slope.
Oh, though. I don't disagree. I mean, most of his music content and things like that was definitely very anti-authority. It was very anti, law enforcement and culture and some things like that. And he wanted to shift a culture. But I think that's become something now to where what he was saying then, pre-internet, pre-social media, everyone can have here's two guys sitting in Northeast Tennessee that get to have an opinion that will go get broadcast over the airwaves. 30 years, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, we couldn't have done that.
Yeah. So I think I maybe misunderstood what you were just saying, and I kind of hope that I misunderstood what you were just saying, because as I'm processing what I think I heard you say, I vehemently disagree.
And by the way, sometimes I say things that I don't even agree with, but I think that's what culture is saying, potentially.
I would agree that that's what culture is saying.
So tell me what you think I said to where I can go, yes, that's what I think.
Things become, as we become more progressive in society, that we accept things and things become more acceptable that weren't before, and that's okay.
I think,
and that's a good thing.
Oh, I'm not saying it's a good thing.
I think it's one of the biggest problems with our culture today.
But I think it's
what you've seen throughout. I definitely think that it's true. It's 100%
No, you asked
true.
why do we think it, like I think you ask it as more of a like how did we get to this point? But like as I'm processing through it, like that's how we got there, because what he did to today's society and culture is not as deplorable as it would have been in the 80s and 90s when he was coming in.
Absolutely true, but I don't think that's okay.
Oh, I'm not saying it's okay at all. Yeah.
I thought you were saying, no, we're progressing. We're getting better. We're getting more accepting of things. And yes, we are. And I think there's a lot of problems with a lot of that.
I enjoy indoor plumbing. I like having heating and air and things like that and a lot of stuff. But I'm way more looking to move to, when it comes to societal cultural things, to like an 30 type of living and thinking around culture and life. And again, there was the culture itself then, but like for me personally, I'm looking to move more to a Jesus view of some things. And I think that the church has botched that in a lot of ways. But I think that there's a lot of followers of Jesus that are doing a really good job, and I want to align more in that space now than I do some of this other stuff. But yeah, no.
I'm glad we clarified some of that, because I was a little troubled as I thought about some of the things that you said there. All right, let's talk just a little bit about football. This Super Bowl 60 was the highest rated Super Bowl of all time, which really surprises me. Because me being a Seahawks fan, they're not the most popular team in America. My other teams, following the Dodgers so closely, the Lakers so closely, we try to go to games every year, and they're the hottest ticket for every team on the road. Anywhere they go, those two teams are the most expensive ticket of the year. The Seahawks are not like that. You can generally get Seahawks tickets pretty cheap if you go someplace. And so I was pretty surprised to see that. Now, the Patriots have a pretty big following, I think, globally and nationally, but they're not the Green Bay Packers or even your Dallas Cowboys or Pittsburgh Steelers. They're in the last few years, they've been pretty down. So they had the greatest turnaround in NFL history from what they did last year, winning 3 games, to this year, 14 games, I think it was. And so I was surprised to see that the game itself had the highest viewership in the history of the Super Bowl. The percentage of American households that were tuned in viewing was the highest that it's ever been. Why do you think? Why do you think that is? Why do you think that sports just hit differently than other entertainment?
Well, I think one of the things that was interesting is, and we'll talk about it a little bit today. I think people were kind of in for the show for a little bit of the halftime. I also think there's a little bit of, will Seattle run the ball when the game is on the line? And
I can feel better now talking about Malcolm Butler. Well, I feel a little better talking about just run the ball.
Well, and I think that's one of those things of when you look at that, like this game, when you really start to reflect into it, end of the game, they handed the ball to Walker. They weren't sitting there going, oh, hey, let's try and pass it. Let's do this.
They did pass on the 1 3rd down that even Chris Collinsworth said, I can't believe they did that. The only way they lose this game is with a turnover and a pick 6. And I can't believe they just passed the ball there.
So in my house, we were watching a lot of golf that Sunday because Scotty Scheffler was making a run. We love golf at my house, and we were really tuned in. Well, it was going to go to extra. Scotty was out, but there was just this really cool matchup that was going to happen between 2 golfers that just really good guys. And one of my kids was like, we've got to watch the golf. And I'm like, people are showing up at our house to watch the Super Bowl in like 3 minutes. We're not watching golf. Well, the first person that showed up was like, oh, good, the golf's on. I was like, you've got 10 more minutes. And they were like, yes. And so we're watching this whole thing, and we were really locked in. And we kind of get to this place is when we flip over to the Super Bowl, and Charlie Puth is singing, and he did such a good job on the national anthem. And
was he lip syncing?
I don't think so.
If he wasn't, his voice is incredible because that was so smooth.
His voice is incredible. Like, you should watch Charlie. They I think he does a segment. I'm trying to think if it's called Dr. Puth or Dr. Charlie, Dr. C. Like, he does a whole thing. He has like perfect pitch. And so he'll sit and he'll go on like late shows, and they'll like take and get glasses of water and they'll tap them, and he'll be like, that's actually like 2 chords. That's a this and a this. And it's not like, oh, that's a D and a C. That's a B7 augmented diminished. And they'll be like, okay, play that on the piano. And they'll go boom, they'll boom and boom, boom. I mean, and they'll hit them and it'll be like, oh my goodness. And he really is crazy, crazy talented with what he does. And so his voice is really, really beautiful. And I love his music ability. So I think that one of the things, I think people were locked in for the halftime show. I think people were locked in for to see if they were going to run the ball. And I think people were just like, we're in this weird, unique season. Golf, Scotty Scheffler, all of this stuff. There was this excitement. The Olympics were kicking off, and things were rolling in that realm. Like, there was just this whole world of everything's kind of in that. And you've got 2 teams in a rematch that ended weirdly, and everybody wanted to either see the Patriots win or they wanted to see them lose. Most people's favorite team are who they pull for and whoever's playing the Patriots. Yeah. And so we have a Seahawks and a Patriots fan at our house, and it was really fun. We had about 20 people over, and it was awesome.
I love that sports are unscripted drama.
Yeah.
Well, you don't know. We're not getting into wrestling.
And I know what I was going to say about like we were watching golf and we flipped over and the first thing we saw was Chris Collinsworth and you said him about that whole thing and we just went, ugh. Like he is one of my least favorite announcers. So knowing I was going to have to watch the whole Super Bowl with him making the call was just like, not great. But no, there is a whole thing that the NFL scripted. Like, do you
that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. It's not scripted. It's drama. It's you don't know the ending. There's no writer's room for this thing unless you're a conspiracy theorist. Apparently, there's no retakes. It's raw, and when something is raw, I think it connects deeper. It feels real because it is real. And even, reality shows that were so big in the 90s and 2000s, and maybe they're still big now. I don't know. I don't watch any of them. But there was so much that wasn't real about those. And that there were retakes and there were edits. There's no edits on this. What you see is what you get. And I think that's why it connects so deeply. I think that sports are socially acceptable emotional outlets. You see people, my wife says that your real personality comes out when you're watching sports. And I don't know that that's true completely because
you hope it's not true.
I hope it's not true. Yeah. I hope that it's not true. My dad was the most caring, empathetic, loving human being that I have ever met. Maybe has walked on the face of this earth outside of Jesus. And, you put him at a sporting event and man, did he unleash some venom on the officials and the opposing teams and coaches. And it was a joy to watch and participate with in him. And so, yeah, I think that it's just real. It's real. And I also think that the Super Bowl has become a cultural phenomenon. And so many people tune in that could care less about the game. They're there for the commercials. They're there for the halftime show. They're there for the community that is involved around it. And the people that couldn't even tell you what a first down is and find themselves yelling at the screen because everyone in the room around them is yelling at the screen. It's a cultural establishment now. It really is. It's something that has become deeply, deeply rooted into the fabric of our country.
No, I don't disagree at all. So you said commercials.
I did say commercials.
What'd you think this year?
What did I think this year? There were some good ones. I think there was definitely a theme that played out a shift. The amount of AI commercials and AI generated commercials, I think was a little crazy. But yeah, I thought companies put some thought into their commercials this year, which I haven't always thought before. And when you're paying $7 million for a 30-second ad spot or whatever the cost is up to now, I think that you should put a little bit of effort into your commercial. And there were some that made me laugh. There were some that made me laugh.
I would say overall, it was one of the lower ranked commercial years for me. There's just a lot of it that I didn't love and enjoy. And the things that I did, I don't like the first commercial, one of the first commercials, the one, and I'd been seeing them kind of promoting this, the halfway there insurance that they did. Yeah. The State Farm commercial, and then Bon Jovi and Haley Steinfeld, and everybody's there with all of that. I thought that was really, really funny. And it started so strong. I was just going, man, this is going to be incredible. My favorite boy band would have been Backstreet Boys, and I loved them.
They got two, right? Their song got used twice. They did almost back to back.
Well, Lady Gaga was in, what felt like a half dozen commercials. I didn't go back and do an exact count.
The Coinbase one was brilliant. That was brilliant.
Oh, the
Backstreet Boys one.
Oh, yeah. With Machine Gun Kelly guy came in at the end. Oh, no. With
just the 1980s Apple IIgs computer screen that it's just the lyrics to the song. Yeah. And I mean, that was the only one that stopped everyone in our living room and we're staring at the screen going, what is happening here? What is going on
For
here?
A minute, I thought somebody had hacked my TV and threw a Backstreet Boys song up there because we just seen the other commercial.
Yeah,
like you said,
it
was
the
just
same thing
right before the one before it. I mean, if somebody had hacked your TV where you live, like this is NASA level stuff. But like I live in the middle of a pretty populated subdivision in the one of the more populated subdivisions.
But everyone in
the
my
city.
living room was fixated on the TV, and we were saying, "What is What are we watching? What is going on here?" And then Coinbase came up, and we're like, "All right, that was really good."
I kind of like that one. Okay, that was. See, I didn't love that one as much. I thought that it was interesting. It did grab our attention, but I couldn't remember who it was because I just keep looking at the video, going, "That was just crazy."
I love the ones I'm drawn to a story. And I love the ones that tell a great story. They make me laugh. The ones that in 30 seconds, which is the time they have, that make you think. I think that's talent right there. When you can pull that off, I respect the craftsmanship. But I also know in watching these things that I'm watching a $7 million commercial. I'm watching something that's been crafted and put together. It's cost them a fortune. And so for $7 million in 30 seconds, I know that each one of these people are trying to say, what's my best sermon that I can give in 30 seconds?
No, absolutely. And so, yeah, it was, yeah.
Did any of them make you uncomfortable?
What do you mean by uncomfortable?
Squirmy?
No, but also when you've got 20 people at your house and a couple of them are under like 5 or 6, it's definitely, you don't get to sit and watch them all as much as maybe you want. And I haven't had a chance yet to go back and watch through them all. It was just kind of like, oh, good commercial. Not so
what
good
was your
commercial.
favorite?
My favorite was probably sitting in the lines of the Bon Jovi one was really, really good. I love Backstreet Boys. So the one with them and Machine Gun Kelly was really, really fun.
What was that for? What was that one for?
T-Mobile.
T-Mobile. Okay.
And I loved Goodwill Dunking. Goodwill Dunking.
Okay, let's talk about that one for a second.
Yes, I thought it was so good. It's like the 3rd or 4th year in a row they've played on this premise of.
I think if they had done that commercial with just all of the actors looking the way they look right now, I think it would have been brilliant. AI making them look like they were 30 years younger.
And not a very good version of
not
them
a
30
very
years
good,
younger.
Yeah. Ted Danson coming out as Sam Malone. Cheers is my all-time favorite show. And so Ted Danson coming out as Sam Malone, wearing his Boston Red Sox thing from behind the bar. Oh, I loved it. But make it Sam Malone, make it Ted Danson as the 70-year-old Ted Danson. I think that would have been funnier. I think it would have resonated more, and it wouldn't have been so cringy. That one to me was cringy because of what they did with the AI in making them look like they were 30 years younger. I thought was pretty crazy. I thought it would have been better if they had just and funnier if they would have had them real.
The one that so many people probably loved that because I will literally drink flat Coca-Cola over good Pepsi was the one where they took the Coke Bear and flipped it to a Pepsi fan.
Yeah.
And I just thought, so. And mayonnaise is a terrible condiment.
Oh, I love mayonnaise.
It's the way that is bonkers to me with how you eat that mayonnaise is on your list.
I love mayonnaise.
I am just like dumbfounded. It's people like you that like make the world. And then the Liquid Death commercial was kind of stupid as well.
I didn't like that one. I think my favorite was.
So yeah, I was gonna say, what about you?
My favorite was the Bud Light wedding one, where the keg goes rolling down the hill.
Yeah.
And Peyton Manning and what's the
Post
singer's
Malone.
name? Post Malone. Yeah.
There's
I thought
a few
that
other guys
one was
in that one.
hilarious. I thought that was really, really funny.
I have enjoyed the banter of Bradley Cooper, Matthew McConaughey, and all of that stuff with the Uber Eats thing. I think it's been really
pretty funny.
Yeah, they've built that well. Hopefully they'll let it kind of die now and not just keep trying to drag it in. So anyway, no, it was a fun conversation, fun overall. Not my favorite year of commercials, but I find it funny that as we try and get more and more progressive with music and things, when it comes to commercials, we keep going further and further back.
I'll tell you what,
and grabbing people that are older.
Other one I loved, and we spent almost a whole episode on this last year. That as the game was winding down, I actually said to my family, "We haven't seen anything this year from He Gets Us." And then a commercial comes on and we're 10 seconds into it. I said, I'll bet you this is He Gets Us. I thought it was brilliant. I thought they did a great job with it.
I saw the thing pop up at the end, but I didn't see the commercial, so I cannot speak to that.
Really good. I thought it was the best one they've done in a long, long time.
And I'm all, you and I have mostly similar views, but there's a few things we have some different views on with them. And
I thought creatively they did really good. I thought the story they told in it, I was proud of them for that one. I thought they did a really good job.
I have not seen that one enough. I just saw that he gets his pop up at the end and somebody said something and I turned around. So,
yeah.
All right. Well, in the middle of the game and the commercials, apparently there was a show. Apparently there were two shows that were on, one that was actually at the Super Bowl and one that was on YouTube and some other places. And so, yeah, we talked a little bit off air. I mean, I think that the reality is you and I don't speak the language of the halftime show at Super Bowl. Yeah, that would there'd be very, very limited of what we would know. And so we don't speak the language. I have never been to Puerto Rico. I admittedly probably don't know enough about that culture to speak into the things that Bad Bunny was saying. I knew the name Bad Bunny, but I did not know him really until he played Adam Sandler's caddy in Happy Gilmore 2.
Yeah.
And my boys were like, that's Bad Bunny. And I'm going, learn something new today. Like, I had no clue what he looked like. I didn't know at all. And so, for me, like, my observations are probably from a little quieter place, but more looking at just things that I saw than really a deep understanding of the culture and stuff like that.
Yeah, the only Bad Bunny songs that I knew were the ones, half of Major League Baseball has a Bad Bunny song as their walk-up song as they're coming up to bat. Freddie Freeman's is, Kike Hernandez is.
What you mean is half of the Dodgers.
Yeah, but half of Major League Baseball is as well. And so I was a little familiar with some of those tunes just from hearing the walk-up songs. But yeah, I'm the same as you. I don't know any of his music outside of that. I didn't recognize, there wasn't a single song that was played at his halftime show that I had heard before.
I knew the tune of one of them because it's been in commercials. And here's the thing I'm going to say, like, I looking at this from the perspective, I'm not saying that like what he did, I started to do like a deep dive. There was, I'm going to say 20. I don't know that that's accurate. If you add in Lady Gaga and Ricky Martin and some things like that, like if you add all of the songs, they might have done part or all of 15 to 20 songs. It was a long list. It's actually impressive in like the 14 and a half minutes that he did, how much he worked through. But I clicked into one or two of the songs and I was like, okay, translate, because that's the only option I've got. And then the thing I heard and I read as I was researching some of this is that people like said that he changed some words in his songs. So he wasn't actually saying almost like a radio version versus a Apple Music or Spotify version. So I can't speak to what he said or didn't say. And I can't do, but I looked at a couple of songs and I thought, man, if he said this, that's probably not something I would want my kids to be listening to if it was in English.
How much has our world changed that you just said radio version versus Spotify or Apple version? It used to be radio version versus album version, but you don't have albums. You say, was this the album version or the radio edit?
Yeah. And it's a crazy world, that whole thing. We can talk about some of that later. So yeah, those are just some of my like initial thoughts. I thought, like one of the questions you asked, and then I want you to jump in here and maybe you can go back and cover some things I've said on your thoughts on them. And then you can step into this. One of the things you said was talking just around, like culture inside of the shows and, are they neutral? And is that even, possible? And I've said before, what if nothing we consume through media was ever designed to be neutral? What if everything has always had a purpose?
Neutrality is a myth.
It's such a myth. And that's the thing, is that like when you and I write a story or we talk on here, we have a purpose. Like when people write a song, nobody wrote a song and just went, I don't hope this moves somebody to think the way that I think. When directors and things do, having a son who wants to score films, when he watches a film and when people send him projects that he's working on, I mean, he's doing that with an emotion and a heart that he wants to move people's thinking into an alignment with where the director wants to go. And so if things were never meant to be, or if things were always meant to be, is what I meant to say, made with a purpose and to move you to think in a certain way, why then would I expect whether I prefer their music or not, the person that the NFL has chosen to put at the halftime of the largest sporting event of the year to not be telling a story and trying to move the hearts and minds of people?
Well, it's the same with every commercial
Agreed.
that we just talked about before. Every performance communicates values in some way.
Yeah.
Even choosing to just entertain. You say, "Oh, we're just entertainers." You're still pushing a value.
Are you not entertained?
What you do. Yeah, it's a value statement.
Yeah.
No matter what your statement is, there's a value coming across. I agree with you completely on that.
Yeah, and so I mean, so in that, like, you know, I don't know, like, I don't. Where do you like? What's your thoughts? What are you thinking? Did you? I guess, like, we'll just start with Super Bowl, then we can. I mean, we'll talk a second about the other one. You and I both I watched both of them. Or I have now watched both of them, A House of 20 People. You just kind of, you get an experience and stuff, and then you go watch them later to where you can really absorb it and take it in. But what's your thoughts?
I think you and I differ a little bit in what we've talked about, that I just didn't get the Bad Bunny show. It wasn't my stitch, wasn't my thing. I didn't really have a problem with it. I understand that he's extremely popular. I don't understand why, because 95%, forget the fact that it's just probably not my style of music. But 95% of the people that listen to it can't understand the lyrics. They don't understand the words that are being said. 95% of the people watching the Super Bowl probably didn't understand that at all. I even said to my family, they should put closed captioning on it. When you're watching a TV show and they're speaking Spanish, they put the words at the bottom. They caption it out for you. They should have done that. It would have helped, or maybe it would have made it a lot worse. I don't know.
Can I interject right there really quick, and then you jump back in? I was listening to sports radio, and I actually listened to it on a radio to like age myself. Like, I'm not listening on Spotify or iTunes, but I was listening to sports radio, and I was having this conversation around they were having this conversation around like a year ago when Kendrick Lamar was on, they bleeped several things that he said. And somebody was like, it feels incredibly hypocritical. And this wasn't just some caller in. This was actually a intelligent conversation between the host and somebody else that's around the show and the network. But they said, like, if in that space they're going to bleep out words because the vast majority of people watching would understand it. But if they said, and that's where they said, like, we understand he changed some of his songs, but there's no way he changed everything. Like, is it not hypocritical to bleep out words that would be understood in English, but not bleep them out? And I don't know. I don't know how I think about that, because I would prefer it to not be there, period.
Yeah.
But I don't get that voice. I'm not the norm of America, and I fully understand that.
Yeah, and so I think I don't have a problem that he performed. I don't have a problem that they chose a Spanish-speaking Puerto Rican entertainer to do that. He's extremely popular, and so I think they go with what the numbers tell them are going to get the most people to tune in. And it was the most watched halftime show of all time by a large number. When the metrics came out, it blew away everything else that has ever had. Now, I feel like every year they say this was the most watched halftime show ever, because I think it's just becoming more and more of a cultural
Did you see
thing.
Sports Illustrated post on Instagram?
I did not.
Like, if it wasn't Sports Illustrated, and I checked to make sure, and if somebody goes, nope, you're wrong, you got hacked, you you fell for it was actually Sports, Faux Illustrated or something, and you misread it. But they said it's like like water consumption during the 13 and a half minutes of that was down by some astronomical amount, and was immediately, as soon as it was in 60 seconds of being over, immediately skyrocketed to the highest ever been, because there were 671,962 people flushing a toilet all simultaneously
really
rushing. And so, but that was Sports Illustrated saying that. And so I do think, and like it or not, we live in a world where it was much easier for mine and your parents to control our content.
Definitely.
And so if my parents didn't want me to listen to something, don't put a radio in my room. Don't give me a Walkman.
Yeah.
Don't turn it on when we're in the car, because that's really the only space. We're not going to purchase those albums. You don't have access to this. Now, like, I can control a whole lot, but I can't control the fact that my boys have a phone. We have an Apple Music subscription, and they kind of go from there. But talking about what you're saying, my preference would be vast majority of music. I would choose country music over.
See, country music
hip-hop
would be at the bottom of my list. I'm just not a country music
fan. No, I get
fan.
that.
I never have been.
And your vibe is probably a little more Coldplay, Maroon 5
for sure
type of thing. And I love that music. And I think it would be a tension if I was just like, oh, hey, you can only have one of these the rest of your life. Do I want something that's here or there? But for me personally, and so like I guess look at the TPUSA show for a second, like that music would draw me, but it wasn't. But when I looked at it, I said this to you off the air, there were words that were said, there were statements that were made that I was just as bothered by. And I wouldn't want my sons, who are, young men now, that I would not want them exemplifying those values of those songs either. And so this is something. Now, I mean, the last one that, when Kid Rock came out and did probably, like you said, like the first verse of his most famous song,
ba with the ba ba dang ba dang
ding, and then he transitioned into a song as his actual self. Robert Ritchie, I think, was his name, or is his real name, not Kid Rock. And that song carried some decent values for me, but again, I'm not talking about. But I look at, if I listened to Bad Bunny and read the songs, I probably might have a song in there that I would go, hey, those values are really, really good. So I wouldn't speak to that as either way.
So one of the big things that's been discussed and really galvanized this whole conversation has been the political spectrums.
Correct.
Okay. And that both of these shows were statements. They were political statements. When does art cross the line into activism?
Oh my goodness. I said to you off air that I'm fine. And again, people can like or dislike what I'm saying. I'm fine with both of these shows existing. It's a free world. You can turn on or turn off anything you want to. But these, like, there was a segment that was making this a Christian, non-Christian. And I don't think that, like I just said, I don't think that everything, I don't know if anything outside of one line in the last song that, Kid Rock did was anything that was just saying God's name does not make it Christian. And so this was a Republican Democrat. This was a left versus right, to me, like, fight. And I could be wrong, and people were right. Oh, we're fine. Tell me I'm wrong. It's okay. I can handle it. But it just felt different to say when. I think it's always been that way. Go back to the Beatles. Go back to, I mean, you look at men and women who were writing songs like throughout history. Whether these were, go back to the Bible and look at some of the songs that were written by, Miriam or different people, these poems and these songs and these thoughts that were written in these real moments of despair, like in this moment of struggle and this internal angst. And it was an angst, not just with God, what are you doing? But an angst with what is happening in our culture and society. And I think that there's something that's there that like it's okay and it's good that people want to voice those things. I think that in the world we live in 2026, it's just really, really complicated with so much availability on social media and things to do. I'm intrigued to hear your thoughts on this.
I agree with you. And I think, like we said before, art has always influenced culture.
Yeah.
Always. You go back centuries, art has influenced culture. So I think the question isn't should it? The question is, how do we respond to it? And I honestly, I think you're going to disagree. And this is something that maybe will get us in a whole lot of trouble. I actually have much more of a problem with the other show than I do with the Bad Bunny show, because the Bad Bunny show wasn't portrayed as anything other than this is what it is. People knew what they were going to get. The fact that you had a Christian network broadcasting this other one, the fact that they put it in that this is going to be wholesome, this is going to be countercultural to what is happening on the main stage over here. They built it as something, and then you have I just fast forwarded through it just to be able to have an informed discussion for this show. The first words I hear is, I hope you get this, I hope you get this, I hope you get this, and I hope he cheats like you did on me. And then we all know Bawa Taba by Kid Rock, and the lyrics that he's literally singing on this Christian station that 10 years ago would have boycotted the things that Kid Rock is saying, now has him singing that this goes out to all the topless dancers, all the meth head addicts that are just looking. I mean, the lyrics to what he saying, what he did on stage on a Christian network that publicized this as your family-friendly alternative to what is taking place over here. To me, I think that bothers me much, much more than what the NFL did on the main stage.
Yeah, I mean, in my whole thing, I was having a conversation with a couple other people, and just in the conversation, it was like, look, I don't even know that Kid Rock's a Christian, and one of them sent me a thing from some website that I don't even know how old it was, but it said that he is, and he's actually an ordained minister, and I had no clue of that. And I read it because I wanted to be able to respond thoughtfully with it, and I said, okay, if this is true, he only talks about in this whole thing two things that I would consider to be theological, and in my opinion, like what he says isn't even, he takes an unbiblical view on the things that are there. So for like, I don't disagree. Like, again, I don't have an issue with the two shows. I have an issue that there became a thing of like, this is, because like I said, I'm not looking for my boys to exemplify. I don't want my boys to be a person that this young lady writes a song about that goes, hey, well, I hope you get this. I hope you get this. I hope you get this. Hey, and in the end, I hope he cheats on you just like he did on me. And I thought, or maybe I hope you cheat on him just like he did on me.
I hope she cheats on you.
Yeah. Sorry, I said it backwards because I didn't know that song. I actually didn't know that artist and things. And so, yeah, I think that's just this tension and this struggle is the art. You sent me an article, and if people want to go look it up, it was Relevant Magazine. And if you want to cut that part out, you can. And I don't know that I agree with everything they said, but it really challenged me. And honestly, if you would have just put it into a thing, the wording just came across. There's these definitive, if you just put it into a note and send it to me, there's these definitive statements that I thought Tony Marr wrote that. Like it just really spoke the way you would. So like when I say that, I don't say that to go. I
subscribe to Relevant Magazine.
I did too, man.
Early 2000s.
I love, man, you get that box once a month, once a quarter. It was awesome. Books galore, CDs when those were necessary. Yeah. It was so good.
Albums.
It was so good. So I'm not saying that I'm not saying you agree, disagree, or that you wrote this, but what I mean by it, and in a positive way, it was an incredibly thoughtful article that challenged me to look at what is my heart inside of these two shows, inside of the TPUSA show in particular. What do I feel as a follower of Jesus that I'm looking at and going? And so I just think there's a lot of depth in this. I did do a little deeper dive on, because there was no deep dive to do on the TPUSA show. Like it was what it was. It was pre-recorded. It was actually one song where the lip sync was, or the video and the lips were off so bad.
And what Kid Rock did, he wasn't even attempting to do bad lip syncing.
No,
he just, it was
not great. And so at one point in time, somebody said, I think we're off. And I said, the past 6 songs haven't been off. And they're like, oh. And so we had both shows on at our house, and I kind of walked between the two and I watched them both. There was some people, like I said, we had about 20 people. There was literally about 50-50, just like, hey, prefer not to watch this one. I'm like, that's cool.
Yeah. And I think if they had just said, this is going to be the Republican answer to what's happening here. This is, instead of saying this is going to be a family friendly, faith based thing that you can go, that's going to give great values and bring back American values and all of that, redeem the halftime show. I think that's what bothered me, is because it didn't do any of that.
So I didn't know this, but in 2019, Jay-Z's Rock Nation partnered with the NFL, that they are a pretty much key influence. They are the key influence. They listen to some other people based on like some USA Today articles and other things like that I read. They listen to some key people, but they, along with the NFL, Jay-Z and the NFL, decide the halftime show. And I think that in that in his time, you've had Maroon 5 and you've had Coldplay. And so 2019 to 2026, you've had 7 years.
But neither one of them were headliners. Neither one of them were the headliner, I don't think.
I think Maroon 5 was in 2019.
Were they?
Maybe. I could be wrong. I thought Maroon 5 was in 2019.
I know Coldplay wasn't. They were just a supporting.
They were in 2021, maybe. I just remember that because I was looking through it.
I was gonna say, you've got a great memory.
I just reading that a couple days ago, but I look at it and I go, you have seen a definite shift. The last concert right before would have been Justin Timberlake. Right before that was Katy Perry. I mean, you saw these different concerts, which is crazy to think that Timberlake and Katy Perry were pre 2019. It's like, how old am I? How many Super Bowls have we had? But
60 of them.
Yeah, it's crazy. And so I just, we've seen a shift in what's there. And the thing I would say is
the halftime show used to be a juggler on a unicycle.
Yeah, that's crazy. I remember we were looking at that 2 years ago. I think we were talking about a halftime show and we were talking through some of those. So anyway, those are my thoughts. I don't have a whole lot else. I think, look, if you want to just be honest, like about the turning point, the TPUSA thing, it was fine. It was I don't know. It was fine.
What do you think? I want to dive into this fact that there's such division. And I feel like this was them doing this. And I didn't even know it was still happening until we were talking last week. I knew that right after Charlie Kirk's assassination, that there was talk of it, and it was going to be Forrest Frank and some other Christian artists were supposed
Cody
to be a part of
Asbury
it. And then something happened, and there was some fracture that happened there. That fell apart. And so I thought that it was done until you mentioned it last week, I think on our show, or maybe it was when we were talking off air, that I even knew that it was happening. Is this creative counter programming, or is it cultural division?
Can two things be true at the same time?
Absolutely, they can.
I think
it's probably both.
I think it might be. I think it's the fact of that we live in a world where you can produce. So one, that was not live. The TPUSA was not a live event. It wasn't one. I had so many friends say it wasn't a live event. They got to be smarter than that. There were 2 plays into the Super Bowl back in the second half before that event was over.
Really?
Yeah. And you're a pre-recorded event.
Wow.
And you can't.
You've got 30 minutes.
You know the window you've got. Like, lock it down, man. Get it done. And so I think that one of the things that was just really, really complicated and tough was like, I just think that if in today's world, sorry, this is what I was trying to say. That was what was tough, is people just frustrated, even people who wanted to watch it. I have a friend at the church. He was like, yeah, we used the TPUSA thing in our halftime thing. And he's like, but we were all frustrated. We were watching the game on our phone while they were finishing it up. I'm going, well, you could have just clicked back over. You didn't have to stay here. Like, the thing for me is it's so easy to produce something in 2026 And it's so easy. Like you and I sit in a room with phones and cameras and we do this, and it's not perfect, but we don't have their resources. When you've got those resources, you've got the best of the best. You've got the people who are the best of the best. And it's easy to put something out. So I don't have an issue so much with the thing, because I think everybody, and we've shown this, people get the right to say what they want. And if one side does, the other side can. And I think that's okay. I think we've got to find a way to be respectful in it, and like, hey, say your piece, but you just can't constantly be trying to tear people down.
Yeah, I think what you just said is spot on. I don't think that they were different shows. I think they were different realities. They were totally different realities.
That's an interesting thought.
We used to all watch the same thing and argue about it later, right? Now we choose the feed that already agrees with our thoughts. Whatever we think, we're just going to watch what's going to reinforce what we already think. And that's the reality of our culture now, through what we see on social media, the news networks that we watch. We just want to find the people that agree with us and listen to the people that are going to reinforce what we already believe. And it causes me, I want to ask you, is this just healthy pluralism, or is it tribalism that we're experiencing and seeing? Because pluralism can be healthy. Pluralism is healthy, but tribalism isn't. And the difference is whether or not we're open to dialogue or if we're just defending our side.
It's interesting. And I'm trying to put my brain around tribalism versus all the conversations around tribes. Like, people literally write entire books, leadership thoughts and things around your tribe and working inside of your tribe and things. And so I don't know if that becomes an ism. That is something that's there.
I mean, in sociology, tribalism is saying that we disagree, and so therefore you are the problem. Whereas pluralism says we disagree, but we can occupy the same space. We don't see eye to eye, but we can share this space together, knowing that we don't agree on everything. We can still coexist and we can still live. Tribalism says, no, we disagree, and therefore you're wrong. You're the problem with society because you don't agree with me.
Yeah, I think that sometimes, like in some theological terms, I don't always buy into the categories, because I think there's some flaws inside of both categories. But I would say that we should, like, inside of these two thoughts, pluralism and tribalism, like, while I probably wouldn't fully agree with both of the categories enough to go, hey, I'm 100% on this side of it, of either one of those things, I would say that we have to find a way to live our life that we can go, hey, you get a voice and I get a voice, and then we're going to work through these things together, and we don't communicate, and we communicate through it. We don't just go, you're the problem.
Well, that would be pluralism.
Well, I think that there's deeper things to it. Now's not the time to go into all that. I always think there's deeper.
Pluralism tolerates, maybe even embraces tension, whereas tribalism escalates tension.
And like I said, I think that there's always some good things inside of, and I mean, sometimes, in my opinion, there would be less good things. And so maybe on one side or the other, there's less good things inside of something. But like, I don't always love labels that.
Yeah.
Really
and I think it just
create.
leads to a bigger question of, why do you think this event generates so much emotion?
Well, I think the bigger thing is that it's not just, I mean, like, one, this event is the largest viewed event. We publicize it for years. I don't know if you watched the Grammys this year.
I did not watch the Grammys at all.
But when you're raising a musician, you watch a lot. I mean, I enjoy it. I do, but you watch a lot of those things a little more. But we were sitting there, and Bad Bunny was at the event, but he can't perform. Once you sign on as the Super Bowl halftime show, you can't perform. Like, the whole goal is that no one has seen you for a set amount of time.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that.
I didn't fully understand all that either. And I need to do some level of research, but like, Trevor Noah, I think, is who hosted the show, the late night, the guy. And he's fun on that show at times. He was
in a Super Bowl commercial. I don't know which one.
He was in the Pokemon commercial. Him and Lady Gaga and several others. I think part of K-pop Demon Hunters was on there and all kinds of things. But Lamine Yamal one of the greatest soccer players, 18-year-old soccer player, incredible guy. Plays for Barcelona, but like in that whole space, Trevor, we kept trying to get him down, just trying to get him like, hey, so you want to sing? And finally they did some little bit where he like hummed out part of one of his songs, and everybody just kind of went nuts in there. But like Bad Bunny had put himself into all of these spaces and all of these things, and he couldn't perform. And so all of this stuff led to and built to this whole space and moment of here's this one halftime show. And can I say this? Like I'm from America. I speak English, and I understand that people can say no one is from America, but like you have to go back a whole lot of generations to find somebody that in my family was not from here. And so I'm for multiple
and you
generations.
have to go back 2 for me.
Yeah. And so like that is just not my story. I mean, I am like just grandparents, parents were here. And so like it's just not something that there has to be something incredible. If I was living in a country that did not speak my native language, there has to be something incredible about seeing something on the largest stage in the world that's speaking your language, your native tongue. It's why you and I are such big fans and supporters of the Bible getting translated into all these other languages, because we believe the scriptures that change our life every day, that everyone should have the ability to hear that in their heart language. And I think that has to be the same thing. That has to be part of that same vibe, is that this show is so big and it was so huge. It's such a draw. Maybe not because Bad Bunny's Bad Bunny. He is pretty popular, like you said. I mean, neither one of us could know for sure what percentage, but it's a lot of baseball players. There's 18 guys a game that come up. And if you go to a game, at least a third of them have a Bad Bunny song as their walk-up song. And this is stuff, that when all the NBA players, and not all of them, but a third of them on their playlist, the NBA and MLB and all these pro and college athletes, when they got the AirPods in and they're warming up, they're listening. He's on their playlist at times. But for people that all they speak is that language, and he steps onto a stage and he meets that, and look, I think it's important that we're aware of cultural things. I learned things about Puerto Rico that I did not know before Google and AI and reading news articles. And I used all 3 of those things. I Googled stuff, I used AI, and I went to some news articles and read whether you like their stories or not, reputable news things to see what he was talking about. And I think it's important that we understand culture.
So what does the Super Bowl say about where we are culturally?
Look, it's in the middle of all of this, and there was an incredibly inappropriate video that came out from our president, that whether he posted it, whether it got posted by somebody else, however it got there and whatever it did and however it happened, there just didn't seem to be a real sentiment of remorse and some things. And so I'm not saying that I'm not saying anyone did things. I'm saying sometimes when things happen, you need to take some ownership for it. And when you're the leader, when you're considered potentially the most powerful man in the entire planet, take some ownership for your stuff. Racism is always wrong. There is never a moment that something like that's okay. And for that video to have what it had in it, regardless of how it got there, I think that there should have been a level of ownership taken that speaks to that. And so in that, I think that this halftime show from the NFL, I can't say the NFL, I will say Rock Nation and Jay-Z, Bad Bunny, men and women that influence what would be the alternative to our current president. I do think there was a level of a voice that they're going, hey, we need, you've used this word, and if I'm stealing your thunder here, I'm going to say this and then I'm going to shut up. A level of, we need to there's a unity that needs to happen in our world, and we can still disagree on some things and we can move forward.
Yeah. Yeah. We're divided. I don't think there's any debating that. We're divided, but we're passionate.
Yeah.
And that's scary. We're easily offended, and that's even scarier. We're hungry for meaning, I think, in our culture today, and we look for it in the wrong places. I think that if we're not already there, we're right on the verge of a second civil war. And this civil war won't take place on the battlefield with bayonets and cannons. It'll take place on Facebook and on Instagram, and it'll take place in the newsrooms and on social media. And I think that we're already there. And I think that it's terrifying, the division that we see in our country, that it really is two different nations that are they're not even trying to coexist. There's no attempt to coexist, I don't think. And I think it's pretty heartbreaking.
I was not hopeful when we came through our last election cycle. I'm less hopeful heading in. I'm thankful my hope is not in this country and in the men and women who lead it, but in something else. I think it's incredibly sad that we live in a world where whether you're a political leader, a senator, that's in Minnesota that was murdered this past summer, or whether you're, what's considered to be a YouTube political activist that was murdered, assassinated, sitting at a show. Those are two opposite extremes of people that had the opposite extremes of views, that were both assassinated, murdered, and killed for their belief that they had the right and the belief to speak what was true in what their hearts and their thoughts were. And I just don't know how we've gotten to a place that we're so easily offended by what someone else says, and we can't navigate and work through that.
Yeah. Hey, this episode was supposed to be fun. It was supposed to be lighthearted. It was supposed to be talking a lot about pop culture, and instead we went deep into culture and not a whole lot of pop. So why don't we end this thing a little bit more loosely as something that we haven't done for a couple of weeks? Why don't we dive into Truth or Trash Super Bowl edition? You up for it?
Yeah, am I reading them or are you?
Oh, I'm reading them.
You're reading them.
I'm a better reader than I am a
I
speaker.
tried to make that same statement earlier and you still made me read.
All right, here we go. Truth or Trash Super Bowl edition. The Super Bowl is more about commercials than football.
So I'm saying trash. I will expand by going, I think it depends on who's
watching.
Yeah. Who that is.
If your team isn't playing, you secretly care less.
Truth.
You can't handle the truth.
Halftime shows should be apolitical.
Trash.
Athletes should just play and entertainers should just perform.
Can I say true ashish? That came close to me.
We might have to put an explicit
on
this
there.
episode now after that.
I think a little bit of both.
The best Super Bowl ads are the funny ones, not the emotional ones.
Trash.
Watching sports is a healthier outlet than most people admit.
Truth.
You can't handle the truth.
The Super Bowl has become a cultural event first and a football game second.
Ooh. True.
You can't handle the truth.
If you're more offended by halftime shows than your screen time habits, that's inconsistent.
Truth.
You
So good.
can't handle the truth.
Turning Point's alternative halftime show was inevitable.
Trash.
I would disagree with the state of our country right now. Most people don't want unity. They want their side to win.
Truth.
You can't handle the truth.
You said this was going to be fun. Everything in here has been some crazy. This has not been fun at all.
Party food is the real MVP.
Truth.
You can't
I'll tell you
handle
about my
the
food in a
truth.
minute.
Pizza is better than wings for the Super Bowl.
Always true.
You can't handle the truth.
Raw vegetables do not belong at a football party.
I don't eat them, but I don't care if they're there. So trash.
If your team wins, you think it was destiny. If they lose, it was the refs.
Trash mostly.
Nostalgia-based commercials work every single time.
Truth.
You can't handle the truth.
We say it's just entertainment, but we talk about it for weeks.
True.
You can't handle the truth.
And finally, fantasy football makes people care way more than loyalty does.
Trash.
You just survived another episode of Truth or Trash.
So, and I don't know if you know this or not, but when we were at the basketball game the other day, I'm not sure if you've watched the game film yet, but you will hear a whole conversation around sausage balls. And
I like sausage balls.
well, your wife was given the recipe, because we were sitting there, and sausage balls are one of those things. And so, like I said, we had a bunch of people over. It was awesome. We did tacos, and everybody just
You didn't invite me over.
I did invite you, and I told you that I said I've actually held off on this because I don't think you're the type of person that, well, especially when your team's playing, that you would have not in. You would have been so upset.
No.
You would have been so mad.
I did youth ministry for 10 years. And if you're in youth ministry,
you have to do Super Bowl parties.
I never did. Not once. Not one time. Because I want to watch the game. I
You
don't want to be distracted.
You would have gone downstairs with my mother-in-law and sat with her while she quilted and watched the Super Bowl. And you would have been happy down there. You would have been miserable upstairs with the 18 to 20 of us. But sausage balls, I love them so much. And we were talking about this. Melissa makes sausage balls, and I love them because they're exactly like my mom's. And some people would go like, well, that's rude. You want Melissa to make, but she like loves the fact, because she loved my mom's cooking, that I love it. She makes it. Well, somebody showed up with sausage balls, and sausage balls are one of those things that sometimes people make bad sausage balls.
Yeah, for sure.
But they're so small. You just grab one and you throw it in your mouth. And sometimes you get into biting and you're going, can I swallow this without throwing up? Well, the other day at the Super Bowl party, the person who brought it was like, oh yeah, I brought those. Well, I kind of reached in and grabbed one and I threw it in my mouth, and I was like, that is the greatest sausage ball I made. I would still want my mom's and Melissa's on the norm, but I'm like, this may be the best sausage ball I've ever eaten. And then I ate another one, and I'm going, somebody jokingly yesterday
And then
said,
you missed the third quarter.
somebody, well, no, I didn't, but I didn't sleep much that night. I'll get like somebody said, I never saw Robert with more than two. I said, yeah, but how many times did you see me with two? And they're like, oh yeah. And I was like, these were literally the best sausage balls I have ever had. And they were so good, and they were incredible. And I know I ate 15, if not 20. And there were still plenty. They left some at the house that like stood for us. And then like I had to like confess gluttony to a couple people the next day. It was like 1:30 in the morning, and Melissa's like, are you okay? And I was fine. There wasn't like anything crazy had happened, but I just like could not too spicy a food too late, and it was all there. So anyway, I love Super Bowl food. I love party food like that. It is my favorite. Now, I'm particular about what I would want, but sausage balls always make the list, and I love them.
Amanda makes the best buffalo chicken dip.
I'm not
So
a fan of. She said she made that, and Melissa and Landon were just so like, oh, that would have been so good. And I'm like, not my jam.
You don't like spicy stuff?
No, I love spicy stuff. I don't like buffalo wings either. Like wings with a traditional sauce on them and stuff. I'm more of like the Chipotle honey barbecue guy, or something like teriyaki and things like that. So I don't love that. It's very vinegary based when you get the wings. The dip would not be that way, but I don't love that flavor. But I heard it was incredible.
It's always, always.
Amanda's one of the most humble people I know, and she actually said it's pretty good. So if she's saying it,
it's true.
It's true.
It's true. All right. Well, that is all the time that we have for this edition of the Pulpit and Porch. You know, the Super Bowl will fade. The highlights will cycle out. Next season will come. But what won't fade is this: what we celebrate, what we defend, what we excuse, and what we consume. Because culture doesn't just entertain us, it shapes us. It's okay to enjoy the game. It's okay to laugh at the commercials. It's okay to have opinions about halftime. Just don't turn off your brain while you do it. Discernment isn't cynicism, it's awareness. And maybe that's the real win this year. Not who held the trophy, even though Seattle does host the Lombardi for the next year, but whether we can engage culture thoughtfully instead of reactively. If this episode made you laugh, think, or text someone mid-listen, why don't you share it? Subscribe to us wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Like us and subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on social media, and comment and share about this with your friends. And we'll see you next week right here on the Pulpit and Porch.